So, hello everybody. Welcome to my speech. This speech will be about exactly the title, what was my experience from moving from Netsuite to Odoo. There is a link to the presentation that you can scan, and let's get started. I'll be very brief during the presentation, not to spending too much time on the slides. So I hope I will be able to show you actual results of our progress. So uh, this is what we were challenged with. We used NetSuite from 2010 until 2022. And after two unsuccessful migrations from NetSuite, the third one was actually successful, and we moved to Odoo as being the only viable solution, especially for the multi-tenant ERP. Now, the challenge was first, what are the capabilities of Odoo? Are they on the same level of NetSuite? That's very often, that was my first question. How do we migrate the data? It's not easy from NetSuite. How do we make a backup of our existing data, from sales, manufacturing? And how much of the data we would like to import? So this is what is briefly what's my talk about. I'll give a brief, for those who are not yet on Odoo and willing to move from NetSuite to Odoo, this is a brief overview. So again, we'll move through it quickly. So it is definitely a multi-tenant solution that is, in the words of NetSuite, one world solution, meaning you can have multiple subsidiaries in the same database without having to switch. In my opinion, there is not an additional fee, except from in NetSuite you get a really bulk chunk fee for that. In Odoo, it is the standard. The only difference is that you cannot use the standard pricing. You have to use the custom pricing, which is less than €10 end user difference, so not much. Multi-language support comes with it. To my knowledge, NetSuite supported only 19 languages out of the box. With Odoo, you get, I don't know how many, but definitely much more. So anything in the UI, anything that you send to your partners can be definitely translated in your language of choice. And these are really real life of our own production database in Odoo. So at the moment, we are two companies. One is based in Czech Republic, one is in Slovakia. We use 3 languages at the moment. And of course, multi-currency, of course, is a big plus. You can have, again, as many currencies in the system as you would like to. Now, a brief introduction also to Odoo, what you can expect from Odoo as a company and from Odoo as a software. So with Odoo, you can work directly, or you can work with your partner. There is definitely much clearer pricing that is available on the website, not a black box. No more renewal fights every 1 or so years. Technical support is included in the price. NetSuite, you pay 30% on top of your regular subscription fee for the technical support, and is not limited only to errors and bugs. So, and definitely one other plus is that you get a human account manager that you can, for instance, meet during the occasion. Now, the software. The software comes in 3 different flavors compared to NetSuite. So there is Odoo Online, Odoo SH, on-site. Online depends on the region where you come from. In the United States, it is used by 80%. In Czech Republic, maybe 10%. I don't know what's really, but it is the mostly used platform worldwide. It is easiest to manage, most solid offering, easy upgrades every 3 months. Odoo SH, again, I think most of the partners over here are really on Odoo SH because that's the only way how they can get really their custom solutions to the product. And on-site is for everybody else who doesn't trust any cloud solution, so they run everything on-site as well as community. But I'm sure nobody switching from NetSuite is looking for the community version. Now, this talk is mainly for the inventory and manufacturing companies, service companies, not really my type. So there is a big difference when it comes to inventory, how it is treated in NetSuite and how is it treated in Odoo. So you get a lot of wide different valuations that come out of the box with Odoo. For instance, you get this Anglo-Saxon and continental standard pricing. I also show where you need to be in developer mode, and there is this Anglo-Saxon. It's a very nice feature actually that puts you at ease when you, especially when you're an audited company that needs to make sure your revenue and expense is registered in the same period. So that was really something that I was looking for. And now the major difference is the when you actually register the stock movements versus journal entries. So in NetSuite, the journal entry is generated on the transaction. So if you would be, for instance, on a purchase receipt, in the background, the journal entry is really associated with a purchase receipt. Whereas in Odoo, there is a purchase receipt, and yes, somewhere in the Odoo module, there is a related uh, journal entry, but they are two separate entries. So the only time you can make that particular inventory movement is now. You cannot do backwards, say it would happen yesterday, and you cannot say it will happen tomorrow. So you cannot adjust this effective date. It's only now. And yes, it takes some time getting used to it, but in the end, it does work. I mean, we got used to it after 12 years on being on NetSuite. It takes a little bit of time of getting used to it, but in the end, it does work. And major difference again is inventory valuation. So in NetSuite, you get inventory valuation per warehouse, per location, per even lot number and serial number. Uh, in Odoo, if you are automated valuation and average, it is always average per unit and company. That's it. It's that simple. Now, again, short description of manufacturing. There are no additions to manufacturing. There are only different apps that you can use. They are included in their basic subscription per user. So there is now, in NetSuite, there are three different levels of manufacturing: standard or just work orders, a little bit more advanced with operations, and then some custom. And of course, there are more pricier and pricier the further you get. In Odoo, again, they're included in the basic subscription per price. Manufacturing employees, since version 16 something, do not require their user login. They can be just employees and can log in directly only to the work center if you allow them. There is actually a nice company that I just visited that offers hardware solutions that come out of that works seamlessly with Odoo. And yes, when it comes to implementation, manufacturing, in my experience, is the hardest part of any implementation. So be ready. So this is an outline of my own experience, what you can get from NetSuite when you are switching. So maybe the administrators may have noticed there is a menu called Export All Data. Well, if you even go to the article, the documentation for that, it does not export all, by far not all. There is a Suite Analytics Connect tool that somewhat may replicate the database, your database, or view of your database that is prepared to another database of your choice. But I tried that, and I found that foreign keys, the keys that are connects the different tables, are not present and poorly documented. So very often I threw it away, saying that this is too much work. Third-party backup ETL solution, same story. Can be very costly. In the end, I was frustrated because they didn't work. Some domains are too slow for a NetSuite, and there were timeouts. Oracle provides no assistance of you actually obtaining a copy of your database. You're simply said no, and they say we provide no assistance. You can have when you actually retire your NetSuite account, you can ask for the caretaker mode. Sorry, but that is only limited to months, and it is very costly. So since it's like a read-only archive of your historical data, it may stay there for as long as you want, but you are paying more or less the fee that you were paying. So it doesn't make really sense. The only thing that worked for me is the Safe Search functionality. And Suite Analytics at that time were not as mature maybe as they are now. So given the experience of 12 years, I use Safe Searches really for every domain to actually export the data. Now, what you can expect from Odoo is a nice import functionality that imports everything from CSV or XLX. You can import and update already imported data, very important. And you use internal IDs that actually you can always export from NetSuite as the external IDs that will match your already imported data. So they work really wonderfully. As I'm saying, you can do the import several times. So if you may, for instance, in our case, we imported the customers once, sometimes a couple of months before go live, and then we re-imported them again. Those that were somewhat updated in NetSuite, they were updated in Odoo as well. New additions were created as well. So that's really helpful. And I'm showing, again, you can see where you can import them. My export and import recommendations that create a safe search for each data type that you want to migrate, saying inventory, products, customers, etc. Name the columns. In the safe search, you have the option of naming the columns as a field value of Odoo model, and I'll show you a bit later. Always export the internal IDs because they work as the external IDs in Odoo. And never use spreadsheets to manipulate the data. Especially if it's more than 10 lines of data, never touch them manually, please. Use the time, create the SQL functions, and in my case, everything that was exported from NetSuite was directly imported into Odoo. I didn't touch it. It was very important. And make a list of your imports and their sequence, because they must come in sequence. And for the multi-tenant scenarios, make sure you import the accounting and inventory setup for each company separately, because the multi-tenant really, compared to NetSuite, there is for each separate entity, there is separate accounting and inventory setup. So here's the data to consider. Product, again in the sequence, product categories, units, measurements, you can read it all as well. This is an example. So if I would be importing products. So here is my wonderful CSV that is really a live example. So you can see the default code, how the way I export it, is the technical name for the field that is internal reference. So all the header, you can see here is the ID. For some reason, I still use the product template something, which was recommended to me, but I was stuck with it. You don't need to do it. It can be just really the IDs that you get from NetSuite. You don't have to add anything. So just to hint you how you should export the data so that you can import them directly to Odoo. For opening balances, this is what we did. So for orders, unless it comes in hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, you can use them as excellent real-life training material. So be ready when you actually go to close to near life to cut your operations and have a specific time where you're just migrating the data and nobody's really selling or doing anything, especially not creating any inventory movements at all. Nothing, hopefully. So purchase, sales, manufacturing, delivery, repair orders, please have the people enter them manually so they can learn a great deal how Odoo works, actually just simply entering the data. For the stock opening balances, it is very important to import them into Odoo because again, you cannot change the date in Odoo, the effective date. So ideally, you import it using inventory adjustment just a day or two before go live, after proper inventory configuration. Again, the configuration will post a lot of journal entries for the opening balances. And these are the opening balances that you're going to use for your books. Accounts payable and accounts receivable, again, depending on the number of records, you may do the same as for orders. It works excellent, again, for your accounting staff to learn a great deal, real data, not some fake ones, how to, and I'm showing again, a few pictures how to do that properly. So for opening balances, there is just one line of the invoice line, which is just the big. You can have a product, and you just without taxes, you just say what is the open balance. For other accounts, you use journal entries, review using accounting reports, consolidate with your closed books in the shortest period of time possible, and be done with it. Accounting data. Now, I spoke to a number of people here and especially the people from the accounting booth of Odoo. I do not recommend to import any historical data, and I can tell you why. If you would import them, especially on the accounts that require reconciliation, that would be a mess because they would need to be reconciled. So if you need any previous period comparisons, especially for the balance sheet or some sort of financial reporting, just make a simple journal entry that records the end balances for that particular period and reverse it. So it's always, it's the cleanest way to do that. Now the way I exported every accounting, meaning 12 years of our history per company. It took me only 2 days in stock, being somewhere in Sweden. And I used at that time, I used external spreadsheets to actually make sure all the data that I'm getting are actually being. So you can see here we have an archive with all the CSV and a spreadsheet that holds all the accounting data. And where I also check our trial balances and everything. So I made 100% sure everything is there. So, and I also exported the file cabinet because we kept a great deal of our accounting was already digital. So this is what I was hoping to show you, to actually, again, to go into a bit more detail. So this is an example of the financial archive that I got. I was telling you, so each year was exported, the financial year was exported, and I also exported trial balance from Odoo, so to make sure. Then this is the large spreadsheet that I use for our Slovakian entity. I'm showing only a couple of, but each tab basically holds as much information as required. You can filter, you can search, you can do all sorts of facts. And then I do a trial balance on another page. And I go on and on until I made sure that in the end, I ended up with this, 0. So this is what you want to see after all those years. All the books are balanced to 0 because that's the principle of accounting. So this is what, it's not actually, it took me 2 days only for both entities. So it's not rocket science. Now, as I spoke about this sequential import, so I kept, this was really real life example of us, how we use the steps to what should be first imported and updated until we move to the next one. So if you want to have this, unfortunately, it's in Czech language, but of course I can be willing to help. The same for on transaction, who was responsible for what. So that was our really go live scenario. Now, not how much time is left? Oh, 20 minutes. Good. Next, what I would like to talk about is what can be. I would not want to just say Odoo is just beautiful, nothing wrong there. No, there are areas to be improved. Well, one thing that I really don't like as a NetSuite customer is the split between online and SH platforms. That basically forces you to either be on this latest code base or a historical code base of your choice, being it version 14, 15, 16, whatever in the past. And my ideal would be to merge those because as I spoke to, again, to a lot of people from Odoo directly, it would really make their life easier. Usually the question when a customer approaches any product owner is the, what version are you on? Because then really that might, a lot of issues were simply solved in the next version, or if you're looking for a particular solution, it might be already on that version. So instead of having the crowd being on the same code level, everyone here is really just, I'm on this, I'm on that, I'm on this. So this is really, it puts a lot of pressure on the developers. And Odoo Runbot is the proof of it. So here are all the code bases that are available for Odoo. And they're all maintained, including documentation, localization, and physical localizations. So my really wish that there would be just a master, and that would be everybody would be on. That's my point of coming from NetSuite. The next thing is, please, it's not necessary to make forceful upgrades for those who are on Odoo Online. And nobody can catch up with the changes, especially when there is no documentation provided. And the documentation is, at least to my knowledge, really not up to date. And especially if there is a change that is in the decimal. So it is usually, give you an example. My accountant approached me saying, where are different expenses after we moved to 1603? Because the logic, it was even presented by Fabian, completely changed. And when you look at the deferred expense documentation, it only shows the documentation for version 16. So we had to actually start digging on internet, and I had to spend half a day finding what's actually happened. And believe me, this is not pleasant, really. So, and then the same thing applies to active translations. If you are a translator like myself, if you want to make sure everything is translated, you have to go to each project, being online, 16 something, or 14, 50, whatever, and translate it there. So, enough of my talk. I'm open for Q&A. Oh, okay.
Yep.
So,
First question, can you quickly summarize what your company does and what the scope of Odoo is that you're using it for
so
now?
we represent a Swiss company in Czech Republic and Slovakia, heavy inventory-based product. We work as a distributor providing repair services for the products as well. We manufacture some additional material that is used, and it is plastic welding equipment, and the brand is called Leista. So if you know weldplus.eu, of course, you will find everything about it. How many users? Currently about 25. Uh, do you implement Odoo all by yourself? We started with a partner, and the implementation was, I did the manufacturing rather myself. All the data imports and exports, I rather did it all myself. How do you handle accounting now in Czech context? We use just the standard Odoo Online and Odoo Accountants, registered Odoo Accountants for Czech Republic, DIPE company. And the only problem that we are having, or their problem, is how we put together the VAT declarations, the XML files. This is their job. They're happy to do that. I don't know how they do that, but more or less we run on Odoo Online, and all the changes like the company IDs and all the small things, we did it using inherited views, some basic functionality. Could you show what? Is there a way to get sales order lines out of Netsuite in a spreadsheet? Yes, of course it is. You just export the data. Then it gets more complicated because you need to first export the header, let's say the transaction header, and then you need to import the additional lines. So then it's much more complicated. Again, this is what we faced. I could do it, but I said, no, I will not be doing it because everybody would be held crippled by not entering a thing. So I had the staff actually enter it. They were, of course, unhappy about it. There were errors, but they learned a lot during the migration. Enough? We don't do much consolidation, luckily. I know there is a consolidation module available as a standard in Odoo, but honestly speaking, we don't do much of the consolidation. So I can't really help you with that specifically. Do you customize Odoo or use it out of the box? Initially, it was heavily customized by our partner. In about less than 6 months, we threw away all the custom modules and started from scratch with the standard. And I can only recommend it because it's less headaches, less money spent. Just get used to the standard and use it to the much extent as possible. That's my recommendation. Time off?